it's Anja here, and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. Today we are making the Stratford cardigan. Now, this is quite a big project, so there will be 3 videos showing you how to make this cardigan. And of course there was the lookbook as well. So this video is part 1 of 3 videos that you need to watch if you are going to make this cardigan. There is also a written pattern available to make this. Again, I don't use a size, I just give you instructions on how to make it to your size requirements. Enjoy making the cardigan. What do you need for this cardigan? Actually, I used 18 balls of Starcraft Special DK in the color parchment. This is 100% acrylic. It's normally for a 4mm hook, but I am doubling up on the yarn. So I am using 2 strands and I am using my yarn winder to actually wind the cakes up as I go. So wind them 2 by 2, so you have 2 cakes each time, and each time those are finished, make your next ones. Then you will need a thicker hook because you won't be able to use a 4, and I am going to be using a 6. This will create a fabric that is nice and thick and no holes, because of course this is going to be a cardigan to wear as a coat, so it needs to be nice and warm. So I'm using a 5.5 for the ruffle, and the ruffle is done with just 1 strand. So like I said, only cake up the cakes with 2 strands as you need them. You will also need a button. Now I bought this from a haberdashery. I really like this kind of button and I think it goes well with the color, so that's what I'm going to use. You will also need a darning needle for attaching your ruffles and for assembling your cardigan, of course. Then also you will need, for ease of working, stitch markers, scissors, measuring tape. So I have also been weighing my pieces to make sure that, for instance, my sleeves are the same weight, and so you know that it's just about the same size. Now I've used 18 balls. I have made size medium. If you make it smaller and a bit shorter maybe, because mine is quite long, then 18 balls will be a safe bet. If you know that you're going to make it a bigger size, from like a large onwards, you will have to use more balls. So I would suggest getting 20 balls in all, just to make sure that you have enough of the yarn for the whole project. So let's get started on making the body of the cardigan. So we are using our double-stranded yarn and we are making our slip knot. Insert your hook and we are going to close up the loop. So make sure you realize that you will always be using 2 strands. So let's do 3 chains to get our foundation double crochet started. Then we yarn over ready for the double crochet, but first of all we're going to do a chain in the first chain. So we go into the first chain, you pick up 1 strand there, and then you keep 2 strands at the back of your hook. Pull through the working yarn, pull up a loop, and now we're going to create a chain there. So yarn over and pull through the loop. So that's made the chain. Remember where that chain is, we will be using it later on. And now we are going to complete our double crochet by yarning over and pulling through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's our first of our foundation double crochet. So you yarn over, ready for the double crochet. Then you go back to that chain, pick up those 2 strands there, which of course are made up of 4. Then we are going to pull up the working yarn, do a chain, so yarn over and pull through. Remember where that chain is. And now we are ready to do the double crochet. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. That's our second foundation double crochet. Yarn over into that chain again, picking up those 2 strands, pull up a loop, making a chain, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, making your double crochet. So this is how you are going to continue making your foundation double crochets, and you will have to do this until you have about 109 stitches. Now I made, of course, a size medium, and I created this so it was 95 centimeters long, or just about 38 inches. That gave me 109 stitches because I need a multiple of 6 plus 1. So I did 108 stitches and then added 1 more stitch. So every row is going to start with 3 half double crochets. So we chain 1. This does not count as a stitch, so we just do it to create the height. So let's do our first half double crochet into that same stitch the chain is coming out of. So half double crochet in the first, in the second stitch, and in the third stitch. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the 3 loops on your hook. So every row is going to start and finish in 3 half double crochets. Now we are going to do a single crochet in the next stitch. Then we are going to skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch we are going to do 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now you're going to skip 2 stitches and then we do a single crochet in the third stitch. So after the single crochet we skip 2 stitches and we do 5 double crochets in the third stitch. As you can see, you do have to get used a little bit to working with the 2 strands, so take your time to do this. After your shell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 stitches skipped and then a single crochet in the third. And this is how you are going to continue. Skip 2, do 5 double crochets in the third stitch and skip 2 again and then do a single crochet in the third stitch. 4 and 5, there we go. 2 skipped and a single crochet. There we go. So continue like this until you reach the end of your work. But of course remember, we have got to do those 3 half double crochets. So I will see you after your last shell and about 4 stitches left over. So here I am, just finishing my last shell, skipping 2 stitches. There I'm going to do my single crochet. And now I have indeed 3 locations at the end of my row here to do my half double crochets. So 3 half double crochets into the last stitches, and this one indeed is the chain, but of course that was the first one, so we are going to use that one. There we go. So this is how you finish each row with the 3 half double crochets. So you now have 18 repeats, and of course we are going to do the next row. Now we have a 2-row repeat. So this is the row with the full shells. Now let's get started on a row where we have half shells. So chain 1, turn, and you do your 3 half double crochets in the first 3 stitches. There we go. So first of all, into that single crochet there, we are going to do 3 double crochets. So this is our half shell that we are going to get started with on this row, on this repeat. Then you're going to skip 2 and into the 3rd double crochet, so the top of your shell below, you're going to do your single crochet. Now you're going to go to the next single crochet to do your shell. So 5 double crochets into that single crochet down below, in between those 2 shells. 4 and 5. So there's our 5 double crochets. Skip 2 stitches and anchor your shell in the 3rd stitch, so the top of the shell below. So this is how we are going to build our shells. So 5 double crochets in the single crochets of the row below, and we place our single crochets in the middle of the shell of the row below. So skip 2 stitches into the single crochet for your 5 double crochets, skip 2 stitches and into the 3rd double crochet for your single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, skip 2 and a single crochet in the 3rd. There we go. So I will see you at the end of the row where we will have to create the half shell. So I have just made it to the end of the row here, just doing my last single crochet there. Then this is the single crochet of the row below. So I am going to do 3 double crochets in there. And that is of course our half shell to finish our row with. And then of course we do the 3 half double crochets, which we do on every row. And the 3rd one, there we go. So we are making an edge to our work because we need that of course to put the ruffle on. So let's do the next row. Chain 1, turn, and we do our 3 half double crochets in the first 3 stitches. Then of course we are working with that half shell there. So in the first stitch there we are going to do a single crochet. Then you skip 2 stitches and then of course there you have the single crochet to do your 5 double crochets in. 3, 4 and 5, yeah. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the 3rd. Skip 2 stitches and 5 double crochets in the 3rd, and the 3rd is of course a single crochet. 3, 4 and 5. Yeah, and single crochet again. And so this is the repeat really. So it's a 2-row repeat. One row is with all full shells. The next row has a half shell to start with and a half shell to finish with. And of course we always do the half double crochets at the start and at the end. So I'm just at the end of this row here, so I'm skipping 2 stitches. I'm doing a single crochet on top of that last double crochet from that half shell, and then of course I've got my locations left here to do half double crochets. So this is your repeat now for quite a while, because you're going to have to make the length of your cardigan up until under your arms. So depending on how long you want it, of course you're going to have to make this quite long. I worked to a height of 1 meter, 100 centimeters. So now really my piece reaches from sort of mid-calf to under my arms. And this here is where the button will be for closing it. So there'll only be one button to keep the cardigan closed. And then now I have indicated here where I'm going to have the arm openings. So I have counted here, of course, the edge, then 1, 2, 3, 4 shells, and the 5th shell is going to be used for the arm opening. And then we'll have the back here, then here, counting from the front again. This again is the 5th shell, so I've put a stitch marker in there. So now, from now on, we're going to work in 3 parts. So I'm first of all going to do a row, a whole row, to designate these, to give them a top of half double crochets, just so that when I come to put the sleeves in, I can attach them to those stitches there. Okay, so this row I'm calling in my head the designation row, where I'm going to designate these as the arm openings. So basically you are doing exactly the same as before, doing your little edge here and then your half shell and your shells all the way up to this one here, and when I get here I will meet you there. So I've now made it to just before this 5th shell. I've done 3 whole shells because that was the row I was doing, but here in my last location I have to sort out what I am going to do, because of course we need to start designating our area where we are going to be doing our armholes. So I'm going to here pretend that these are my last 3 stitches. So I'm going to end my row on a full row of doing shells. So that means you do your single crochet and then you do your 3 half doubles. So this here will be the last stitch of my front. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be working on for doing the front part, the front panel, but of course I'm going to reduce down, so we'll have to watch how we do that, but that's for later on, of course. Then now here I'm going to do more half double crochets on top of this shell, because this is going to be the base or the lower part of my arm opening. So I'm going to move this one, I've already done 2 stitches, so I'm going to move this one into that last stitch. I think that's a good thing to do. There we go, so that indicates where I have to turn back later on for the front panel. So now I'm going to do 5 half double crochets. These are going to be, like I said, the base of my armhole. There we go. Okay, and now we are going to do the back, and again I'm going to do first of all 3 half double crochets, because that's what we need to do to get to that location here where we can start doing our shell. So 3 half double crochets to pretend that that is my actual side seam. So let's put a stitch marker in that one as well. So this is the end of our back here with the side seam. This is our armhole. So now we are going to pretend we have started a new row. So at the back here, this is going to be our back. So you start with your single crochet, then you do your shell. So now you will continue doing your shells and your single crochets until you reach this shell here, where you will be doing exactly the same thing as we've done on the other arm opening. So 3 half double crochets, then 5 half double crochets over the shell, and then 3 half double crochets to start your other front panel. Use stitch markers to designate your last stitches. Okay, so now I'm ready to do the back part. So I have turned my work because I am going to pretend as if I'm just going to continue going backwards and forwards with my rows. So the next row needs to be starting here and coming from there. So I'm going to be starting that here, of course, after the arm opening. So here we have the designated stitch here. That's my first stitch of my back. So I'm going to just pull through the yarn. So you go into that stitch and I'm going to bring through the yarn to the front, and that's my loop. And now I'm going to do a chain just so that it's sort of attached. Then I'm going to yarn over and do a half double crochet in that same location. There we go. And now you add another 2 half double crochets, of course, making it the 3 that we always start our rows with. And then here, of course, we have to start with half a shell. So that's what we do. And then, of course, you do as you have been used to, single crochet after skipping 2 stitches. And of course, the next whole shell of 5 double crochets. And so you work your way all the way 1 2 3 4 5 to the other side, to the other arm opening here, and that is where I will meet you so I can show you how to finish there. Just done my last shell. Here's my single crochet. This is my stitch marker for the end of my back. So this is going to be 3 half double crochets. This is a location for my half shell because I'm skipping those 2 stitches. So all that works out. So 3 double crochets here and then 3 half double crochets to finish. And now we are just going to pretend that this part here is all that we are doing and that's enough for our back. So I will see you now when this has worked up to the height where I want it to end on top of my shoulders. So you will be doing as before, alternating the shell rows. So I have done 15 rows on my back panel here. So this is where my sleeves will be attached. This is just underneath my arms. This is traveling up towards the top of my shoulders here. So I'm going to just leave it like this for now, and I'm going to do the front panels first. So I've now folded my cardigan around so it looks like I'm wearing it. Not quite, I still have all the ends to sew in, but you know what I'm like. I do that at the very end. For me, that's sort of, you know, finishing the garment. So that's what I do. And so here is the back panel that I've just done. that I showed you. And of course I have already done one front panel because that's what I wanted to do, to try it out, to make sure that what I was doing was correct. And as you can see, this side here, so the side near the opening is going to be straight. We're going to end our sleeve just straight and put it in straight. Okay, so that is fine there. Then around our neck and the front, our décolletage, so to speak, this here is going slanted. So that's what I wanted, so it looks nice when we're wearing it. So of course, when you're doing your shells, we keep doing this straight. We do not reduce anything here, but once in a while we reduce here by not doing the half shell. So I don't know whether you can see, here is the half shell and here, but not here somehow. Okay, so I missed out the half shell. So that way you can reduce it, and so you go from your 3 shells to 2.5 to 2 to 1.5 to actually just having the 1 or the 2 halves. So that's what we're going to do on this side. So while we were ensuring to reduce on this side and not here, we are now of course going to make sure we reduce on this side but not here. So always near the arms we are going to keep on straight, and the middle of our cardigan, that's where we're going to be doing the reducing. Now this front bit is longer than my back bit because of course there is a bit more volume here that we have to, take into consideration. Okay, so let me sit down and show you how to go about reducing your front panel. And of course you will have to repeat this twice for both your panels. So looking at the front panel, this will be the edge where we close our cardigan, and this here is our arm opening. So we are not going to be doing any reducing here, but we will be here. So first of all, let's just do a couple of rows, just the amount of shells that we already have. So you do your normal rows as you are used to. And by now you should know your pattern quite well. And in a moment, when we do sort of skip part of our pattern, you will know what you've skipped, and you will then know that yes, you have done a lesser amount of stitches in that row, but we need to reduce. So that's what you wanted to do. But then the next row on top of that, you will know that you have got less, and you will just accommodate for that. So you might not have the place for doing an extra shell or an extra half shell, but that's fine because that's what we're doing. So with knowing a pattern really well, that's when you will be able to start playing with it and, seeing what you can do with it basically. So already I am near the other side. So we've done a half and 2 shells. So I've now got to do a half shell. Then there's the 3 stitches for our edge, and we have established our first row, and now it will be a lot easier because obviously now I'm not just going to go past that, that's what you're doing. So I started my front panel in this row here. I've put a stitch marker in the row, and we have 2 full shells and 2 half shells, and then there's 3 shells, then there's 2 and 2 halves, and there's 3. So I've done 4 rows of shells, And now we are going to do our first reduction. So this is the middle of our cardigan. This is the arm opening. No reducing here, but we are going to make sure that we are reducing here. So we should start with half a shell, but we are not going to do that. We are just going to skip it. So let's see if we can do that. So we do our edge because we keep on doing that. And then here we should be doing 3 double crochets. We're not going to do that. We're just going to skip to the next location where we should be doing our single crochet. There we go. And that's reduced. And now you just continue doing your shells as you are used to. At the end of the row, we're just going to do the normal. So at the end, we do our half shell there because of course we are not reducing here. So we do our usual stitches. 3 half double crochets. There we go. And now we're going to do the turn. It's awkward. The cardigan is getting bigger. So let's just put our half double crochets in there. And of course, here we are now ready for that single crochet and then a full shell. Skipping 2 single crochet in the next, and we have a location here for a full shell. And we do a half shell before we do our half double crochets. There we go. And now we have reduced because now we have 2 shells and only 1 half. And now for row 7, you just do your half double crochets and you do what you have a location for. So this time we will be starting with a single crochet and a full shell. And so on. So you work your way to the end of the row. And so next time you come to the middle of your cardigan, to this side here, and you have to do a half shell, you're going to skip it again. And that way we are reducing again. So here I am at my arm opening. So I have to do a half shell, which I'm doing, and I'm not reducing because obviously this is not the location to reduce. So we just continue doing what we know here. Turn. And once again, we do the same thing as we are used to. So this is row 8. Starts with a full shell. And of course you're going to have to redo this for the other panel as well, but it's the same principle. So once you've done one, I'm sure that you can do the second one as well. There we go. And as you can see, look, it does go in, and that is exactly what we wanted to happen. So we finish the row. Now we are going to continue doing rows of 2.5 shells, and I will see you in row 12. So I have just started my 12th row, and it starts with a full shell near the arm, but of course it's going to end with a half a shell near the middle of our cardigan. So I'm going to miss out that half a shell. So these are my 2 shells done. There we are. So that's those. Single crochet there. Then here I'm going to go and skip these 2. Here a single crochet where I'm supposed to do it, but of course not now, but I am now because I'm reducing. And then my 3 half double crochets. There we go. And now, as you can see, we have reduced to 2 shells. So row 13, you do your usual 3 half double crochets in the first stitches. Then we are ready for half a shell. A single crochet, and a whole shell. A single crochet, and half a shell. And we finish the row with 3 half double crochets. There we go. So now we're ready to start row 14, and here we are doing 2 full shells. So we've got our 3 half double crochets, and we do our 2 shells and 3 half double crochets. And now for row 15, we have to start with half a shell. So we are going to skip it, because this is the ideal opportunity to miss another few stitches out. So we should be doing something here, which we're not. We're just going to skip and do our single crochet there. Then we skip 2 and we do a shell in the next location. And there we go. And then we finish with half a shell. And our 3 half double crochets. There we go. So that's row 15. Row 16, we are just going to do the same amount as we have created here and now. So just put on top what you need to put on top. So starting with a full shell. And ending with a half a shell. So now in our row we have 1.5 shells. Now row 17, we are already decreasing again, so we only did one row in between where we had 1.5 shell. So here we will be doing a decrease. So we've done our first shell in row 17. Now we need to decrease. So we're just going to go and do a single crochet in that last location before our 3 half double crochets. There we go. Okay, so now we just have the one shell left, and of course now in this row we are going to do 2 half shells, so 3 half double crochets, then half shell, our single crochet, and another half shell in the location where of course you put it normally. And then of course half double crochets. So now that we have reduced the amount of shells to 1 or 2 halves, we are going to repeat this once more. So once more with a whole shell and once more with 2 half shells. So that will be your row 19 and 20. So row 19 is just the 1 shell, row 20 will be the 2 halves. And then that is it. And then, yes, all you have to do is repeat all this again for the other side. So keep a good tally on the number of row that you are doing and reduce near the middle of your garment and not near the arm opening. And of course you must try it on. I have already tried this on and it works. So you must try this on and make sure that you are working to your measurements. So this reduction here worked for me, but of course if you have more stitches to reduce, then do make sure you reduce more often than this. Okay, you need to make sure that you end in about this width. So I used some of these crocodile clips to just attach my parts together here at my shoulder seam, and I tried it on and it fits. So now I know that it's big enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish every part. So my back part here and both my front parts, I'm just going to put a row of half double crochets on. So I am just doing the last row on each of my parts. So I've decided I am going to do a row of half double crochets on top of every stitch, apart from the single crochets where I am going to do a double crochet just so that it will make up for the height, so that in the end my panel here is a nice straight edge. So this is where we're at the moment. So this is the top of my cardigan. We've got the arm openings here ready for the sleeves, which we will start in a moment. We have the neck opening going out really nicely like this. Then we have our panels here, which are finished with a half double crochet, and this panel of course as well, which is the back panel. So I'm really happy with how it looks already. As you notice, still no ends sewn in, but that's how I roll. So I will do those when I have finished the whole cardigan. So this was part 1 of our 3-part series to make this cardigan. I know it's a lot of work, but just think about how magnificent this cardigan looks, and that is all I kept thinking about when I was making this. Keep an eye out for the upcoming parts for the sleeves, the ruffle, and of course the assembly. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!